Hey, this is Chuck with BMWBLOG, and we're with John Edwards from BMW, who's going to help explain to us all the intricate details of the Fanatec steering wheel.
That's right. So we're unboxing our Fanatec M4 GT3 wheel. So we press to start, opens the box, and here it is. So this is exactly the wheel you can buy for your simulator. Obviously a different mount that we use for quick releases if we need to swap wheels during a race. But this wheel can be at home on your simulator. And so in the car, I'm going to explain how we use all these buttons. Of course, on the sim, you can put them however you want. But in the car, the most important button that we use, or one that we use the most often, is going to be the radio button. That's why it's here, and right next to our left finger.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this has got a temporary label on it, but that's our radio button to talk to the team. Of course, during a 24-hour race, radio is super key. We have to have constant communication with our spotters at Daytona, also for strategy. We're talking a lot. TC button is just for TC off. So if we hit this button, it's going to allow us to have TC off for about a 5-second period. So in case you get hit, in case you get spun, you got to flip the car, do a 180.
So traction control off.
Yep. So traction control off allows us to do a 180 and get back going, and then it automatically starts up again.
Now, is it just on off, or there's something here that has like gradations?
So there's plenty of settings, but obviously going this way, the TC off button just gives it off for 5 seconds. But while we're driving, we've got this thumb knob here that we can reach up and change. So I've even changed this, coming out of a corner when I notice the TC is too aggressive or not aggressive enough. While driving, you can just reach up and modify that very easily.
So that makes it more aggressive or less aggressive when you turn it?
Both ways. So if you go this way, it's going more aggressive.
Okay.
If you go the other way, it's less aggressive.
Okay.
And talking about aggression on the TC is really talking about how early it comes in. So actually, if you say it comes in earlier,
more computer intervention.
Yeah. So if it comes in earlier, it's typically quite a bit less aggressive when it comes in. So some people like to run a high TC setting. It catches you earlier, but it's not so harsh when it cuts.
Gotcha.
Some people like that lower setting to just drive it a bit more themselves, and then it just catches them
Makes sense.
if it's too big of a slide. We've got a map switch here, which corresponds on our dash. We have our map highlighted in red, so it corresponds to this red button. Our blue button is for...
By map, you mean like throttle mapping, or mapping of the engine?
Engine mapping, yeah.
Engine
so if
mapping.
we need to save fuel, I mean, quite frankly, the car also has a lot of automatic fuel saving features for yellow flags. When it realizes you're not full throttle for long enough, it'll suddenly stop burning so much fuel until you go full throttle again, and then it knows you want to go. So we don't have to use this very often.
Okay.
Blue is our wiper switch. Again, it corresponds to a blue colored number on the dash.
And is that just basically on or off, or is it kind of like your car that it senses rain and it'll spin?
Unfortunately, we don't have the auto sensing feature on this car, but we have, if we want a single
Not quite
wipe,
a luxury then.
we want to say, we don't have any seat warmers on this thing either. But
you do have air conditioning. I was impressed to find that
we have
out.
air conditioning, but it doesn't work quite as well as a street car. On the wiper, if you want a single wipe, we have a wiper button here that we press, just the WIP.
Okay.
Stands for wiper, and so we'll press that once. It'll cover the thing once and then stay still. If it's steadily raining, you can switch this to intermittent, is our first phase, and then constant, and then the third phase is a fast constant.
Okay.
So that part is quite similar to a street car.
Very cool.
On the bottom, we have our ABS settings. Again, the higher number means earlier intervention. So again, drivers have different preferences on this. Some like it to not intervene at all, so they go to a very low number and just try to stay out of the ABS. Some like it to just intervene early, but very smoothly, and that allows them to to run a higher number and let the ABS kind of figure out what's happening with the slip at that point. So that's just purely a driver preference. Again, we have a pit speed limiter, which is protected by this little shroud here. So when you're coming into the pits, you can press this and really feel this shroud. Helps you know what the pit speed limiter button is without looking at it.
And you guys program that to whatever the particular track says is the the setting?
Yeah, so in this series we've got 60 kilometer pit speed.
Okay.
So we can activate that on track while we're flat out, and then we have what we call a catch speed. So when you break down below 80 kilometers per hour, then the pit speed limiter becomes active. And so what I do is exiting the bus stop on a lap, I'm in a pit, I hit the pit speed limiter, it starts flashing and tell me it's active. When I hit the brakes, coming down to the line, my lights are flashing to let me know I'm coming down. And when I see that it catches, I'm braking with my left foot. I can go full throttle with my right foot while I'm still braking until I get down to that pit speed. And when I feel the power come back in, I can release.
Oh, that's
awesome.
awesome.
So it's got a lot of smart features that you have to know how to use.
Yeah, and it keeps you out of getting in trouble and fines and time penalties.
It keeps you from getting in trouble, but it also, you know, the whole catch speed thing on the car lets us not dip too far below, because obviously you got to get below 60 kilometers an hour and you lose time. So
wow, that's fascinating.
So it's all very advanced.
Does a different driver bring in a different wheel, or do you use the same wheel?
No, we'll stay on the same
with the car.
We'll stay on the same wheel through the whole 24 hours unless we have a problem. So we obviously have spare wheels here. You know, obviously with all these buttons here and all these switches, you know, you can see the connectors. If one of these pins gets bent or there's some issue back in the connection, obviously we want to have the ability to swap the wheel out. That can happen very quickly if we have a problem with the electronic side of the car. First thing you can do is a wheel swap and see if that fixes the problem. We also have a drink button here that powers a drink pump. And then on the back of the steering wheel, obviously we have our down paddle, up paddle, and then clutch, which is active on each side. So you can operate these independently of each other, just depending on which, you know, how you're turning the wheel when you exit pit lane, depending on which side you want to grab. The thing I really like, especially for a GT car where you're doing long endurance races, is that the paddles go back and forth each way. So normally you would you know, pull the paddles to go up, pull it to go down. But if I'm dealing with a seatbelt issue, you know, right after a pit stop, the thing fell off my Hans, or I need to tighten the belt extra, I can actually flip the down paddle in the reverse direction and push it forward, and that's going to induce an upshift. Wow. So if I'm busy with one hand, you know, solving a problem or switching a data stick or something else driving down pit lane, I can drive with you know, pushing the paddles the opposite direction to make the opposite function.
I was struggling to see the benefit, but now when you said if you had to drive it with just one hand, then that would solve that issue.
Yeah, and that's really useful. Again, you know, in endurance racing, you're in the car for 3 hours. You occasionally get very busy with the right hand, or, you know, pulling on something, hitting the P pump that pressures up the additional lumbar support. So I might be dealing with something or fixing my drink tube. I can just hit the upshift with that and not have to reach up and grab it. I can keep doing what I'm doing with that right hand.
You did say 3 hours. Do you think that is what you guys, is that what you guys shift?
Like we typically target about 2 hours, but of course with the yellow flags and everything, sometimes there's a yellow flag at an hour and a half into your stint or an hour 40. Sometimes you'll stay in the car for an extra bit. You're also much more likely to be in those long stints, you know, for example, 2.5 or 3 hours in the middle of the night, because as drivers in the nighttime, we want to get sleep when we're out of the car. Yeah. And so we all say, you know, we would rather drive longer in the car and then have more rest out of the car in those middle of the night stints to help the other drivers get more rest.
What is your shift in the middle of the night?
Well, I haven't seen the exact run plan, but in general, you know, Connor will start, do about 2 hours. I'm going to get in for about 2 hours, and then we'll just continue like that. And so, again, with yellows, it can shift a little bit one way or the other, but that's going to be the general running order for us through the whole race.
And if you're running flat out, how much fuel is on the car? Like if you just were green the whole time, how long could you go full green?
We have about 55 minutes of fuel, so it's almost an hour. So that's why we kind of do our plan as, you know, one stint's about an hour, so 2 stints is 2. It just makes it easier for the planning, because we know it's going to get, you know, shifted one way or the other with the yellow flags.
So if you did 3 hours, for example, you'd come in and fuel maybe twice.
Yeah, triple stint would just be two times fueling, and that's almost 3 hours. But, you know, it's more likely if you do a triple that one of those stints is not going to be a full stint. So, for example, a yellow comes out halfway through your stint, you refuel, that's your second stop, you're going to get about 2.5 hours, 240 in the car.
That's cool. And when you guys change drivers, do you take the wheel off or do you leave the wheel on?
We leave the wheel on. We do have an adjuster in there that we can push it further away from us.
Right, that big long carbon stick.
Yeah, that huge carbon stick. Yeah. We tried operating it that way during the qualifying race, Connor and I. It does make it easier to get in and out, but it's a little bit time consuming in terms of coming down pit lane, because, you know, another feature we have on the car is when you're on pit lane, you can preload this, press it for about 1 or 2 seconds on the downshift paddle while you're on pit speed, and that'll activate the engine kill function. So when you pull into the box, it automatically shuts off. But so when I'm doing a driver change, I get down to my pit speed, I have to loosen both belts on my shoulders, I have to loosen the left shoulder, left lap belt, and I have to preload the engine kill. So if you have to add again, you know, flipping that thing down and throwing it forward, then you have to lock it again. It can get a little time consuming to getting into pit lane. So we've been practicing our changes without moving the wheel at all. But if it ever gets sketchy, you know, we have that option to move it away. For us, obviously, OK, just a confirm button on the dash. And then the full course yellow button, we don't use.
OK, meaning they would ask you a question?
No, it's not so much.
It's a computer.
It's a computer acknowledgement. So if we have to change settings, you know, there's a way to get into a settings mode on the dash, and you know, confirming that is
right.
Okay.
They do talk about the fact you can change the program of the car without needing a laptop. Would that be done through the steering wheel, or other buttons on the dash?
There's other buttons on the dash in order to get to the setup mode. And then there's a lot of, you know, you scroll with the TC button and you know, confirm with the OK button. There's a lot of different functions in that regard. That's not something you're likely to be dealing with on track as a driver. So again, you know, the TC button turns into something else in that case.
Yeah, this is more for like your private guy that buys a $550,000 race car.
Yeah, exactly. Or in our case, you know, our mechanics are doing that stuff before the session. They'll go into the, you know, we kind of call it the mechanics page, or you know, the setup page, configuration page, and you know, they'll set up whatever settings we need to run at that event. You know, depending on what series you're running, depending on what BOP you're running, and you know, what boost is allowed and things like that. You can change all in that configuration page.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I appreciate the time.
No worries.
Thanks for the interview with BMW Blog. Appreciate
it. Of course,
So,
anytime.
As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you at the race.